When it comes to things that keep me awake at night, when it comes to classical music, first off, I'm thinking about music all the time. So whether it's a piece or larger issues that we're dealing with, that's what I'm usually thinking about when I'm staring at the ceiling. But in today's world, I think that there are unexcusable issues that we need to be addressing as cultural liaisons for orchestras, whether you're a music director, an associate conductor, a guest conductor, an administrator, a player. We're all part of this conversation moving forward as folks who represent the communities that we exist in. And I think there's no better example for the larger community of what society can achieve as humans than a symphony orchestra, right? We can address it with programming, we can address it with how we hire folks, how we diversify our offerings on stage. But at the root of it, if we just look at what the symphony orchestra does from day in and day out, it's what I aspire to be as a citizen of the 21st century. We have so many different people coming together, working together to achieve one idea, one goal. And I think if we just look at how that entity operates and we really support that and we really project that to the greater community, then I think that that's a good start. And it's inspiring to me because when I look at folks who represent these ideals, I would rather have a symphony orchestra who is a cultural entity representing diversity and understanding and empathy rather than, say, politicians, because this is an actual living, breathing thing that's representing the best of humanity in a way. So we have work to do. And I'm excited to address those issues as an arts leader and as a conductor and as a human being. But I think, man, we need to celebrate this beautiful entity that is a symphony orchestra because it's a model for society in a lot of ways. Technology in music is undeniable. I think the fact that we're able to stream concerts is amazing, especially during the pandemic. But I think that technology is going to become an even greater force in our musical world, right? We had this really this blossoming electric music scene. Speaking of Asheville, North Carolina, Moog synthesizer was born and raised right where my hometown. So electronic music has been around for a long time, and electronics in music has been around for a long time. But I'm really inspired by there's a few orchestras who are embracing this technology renaissance that we're having and starting to reshape some cultural identities and submissions with how you can incorporate technology. I'm excited for the future. I think there's composers who are doing it really well. People like Mason Bates. He's got a piece for basically DJ and orchestra. So this is not a new thing, but I am excited that in a way this has been a positive that the pandemic has highlighted that, hey, technology is here. Let's use it to our best, let's use it as good ammunition and not necessarily bad ammunition in a way. And yeah, I'm excited to see what the future holds with technology plus classical music. The way I like to look at classical music and what things to preserve is a lot like how a great museum runs. Now, not all museums operate the same way, but I think the best museums have this mindset of having exhibits that never leave, right? If you go to the Louvre, you're going to see Mona Lisa. She's never leaving, right? She's in that space. You're going to be shoulder to shoulder trying to, get a picture without the security guard seeing you. She's never leaving that space. But there are exhibits that may come for a month. You may have a sculpture, a guest sculpture come and curate, a space for a month or two, and then that leaves the museum, and then another artist comes and fills that space. I really believe that that's how orchestras should operate. You have the Mona Lisas that never leave our repertoire. That's the Beethoven, that's the Brahms, that's the Schumann, etc. Then you have these pieces that come and spend time with you, and they're not necessarily permanent, but they're always evolving, they're always rotating. That's new music for me, okay? Because what we have to remember is that all music was once new. Every Beethoven piece had a premiere, and that is just so mind blowing for me to think about every time I bring that little tidbit up. But we have to preserve the pieces that are in the museum for a reason, if that makes sense. And then we have to celebrate the new pieces that everyone's experiencing together. And hopefully, if it's vibing, you bring those pieces back, in a year or two, or so be it. But it has to be this constant ebb and flow between permanent exhibits and rotating exhibits. A memorable moment from my early years conducting, when I was still a student, actually, and this goes back to lessons you learn as an early conductor. I was conducting a performance of a Brahms symphony in Romania, actually, and I was very young, very inexperienced, probably shouldn't have been standing on the podium at this point in my life, but I was conducting, and after the dress rehearsal, the principal violist came up to me, very broken English, came very close to me, too close to me, frankly, and looked me right in the eyes and said, "If you want to enjoy the concert, buy a ticket." And I'll never forget that moment because it was a huge lesson learned for me that, again, it's not about the musicians, it's not about the conductor, it's about making the music speak and letting that voice speak loudest. I I relive that moment almost every other day. I think about him. I can't remember his name, but I think about him very often. Yeah. That's a good story, right?